Hi everyone! Today is day 15 of our remote learning plan. The goal for today is to practice a little bit more with lesson 2 of topic 10, which is using models or pictures to multiply a fraction by a whole number. Before you start with the lesson, you should complete one of the warm-up problems in the warm-up problem packet and then move on to working on page 551 and 552. We have to complete problems 4 through 9 and then 14 and 15. So yesterday you should have gotten a good enough grasp of this to be able to do it on your own today. So my recommendation is that you do these by yourself first, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 14 and 15. You should try them first by yourself and then use this video to for me to go over them kind of with you to check your answers. So that's my recommendation for you, is that you should try it first to see if you get it and then use this video to go over them. So when we are multiplying, let me just go over before I start just a quick, going over how to do the multiplication and turning a fraction with a numerator greater than the denominator into a mixed number. So just as an example, say we were multiplying 5 times 2/3. Remember that first you have to look at the whole number. So what is the whole number? The whole number is 5. Then we multiply that whole number times the numerator of the fraction. Whole number times the numerator, which is 2. So 5 times 2 is 10 over our denominator of 3. Now looking at the numerator, 10 is larger than 3, so we have to turn this fraction into a mixed number. And a mixed number has a whole number part and a fraction part. So take your 10/3 and break it apart and see how many 1/2s you can get. So our denominator is a 3. In order to have 1/2, I need to have the same number on the top, a 3. And remember, all of your fractions need to add up to 10. All of your numerators need to add up to 10 when you break it apart in order to make a mixed number. So since 3 plus 3 is 6, that's still less than 10, I can have another 1/2. And you use your skip counting here. 3, 6, 9 is still less than 10, so I can have another 1/2. 3, 6, 9 with 1 left over. So I'm going to erase this up here. And now I can use my work to figure out the mixed number. Circle your 1/2s. 1, 2, 3 with a 1/3 left over. So that's just a review of how to create the mixed number when you get the answer to your equation, because you're going to have to do that for some of these. All right, so now I'll go over the answers. You should try it first, remember, and then use my video to check your work. First thing that you should be doing when you're solving these is looking for what's repeated and thinking about how many times you see the fraction. So my kind of tips for solving these are think about what is the fraction and how many times is it repeated. So for number 4, what is the fraction? The fraction is 1/8. How many times is it repeated? It's repeated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So our equation is going to be 5 times 1/8 which equals 5/8. And since my numerator is smaller than the denominator, I don't have to turn that into a mixed number. All right, so for number 5, what is the fraction? The fraction is 2/10. How many times is it repeated? It's repeated 1, 2, 3 times. Just like repeated addition. Just like if you added all of these up, 2 plus 2 is 4, plus another 2 is 6. But we can also multiply. So 3 times 2/10 equals 3 times 2 is 6/10. And we don't have to turn that into a mixed number. Now we have 2 sentences. Calculate the distance Margot rides her bike if she rides 7/8 mile each day for 8 days. So our fraction is 7/8. How many times is it repeated? Well, she's riding the same amount each day for 8 days. So 8 days, that pattern is repeated. So our equation is 7/8 times 8, or 8 times 7/8. So 8 times 7, hopefully you remember your multiplication facts, because that's a little bit tougher than 5 times 1 or 3 times 2. So 8 times 7 is 56 eighths. Now, 56 eighths is a little bit tougher to turn into a mixed number. So I'll show the work here. This is why the skip counting can help you. Or we also talked about other ways to do it in class. I know maybe some of you forgot because we haven't been there in so long, but I'll show you how to turn that into a mixed number. You could skip count, number 1. I'll show you the regular way first that we've been doing it in class. It is a little bit more work, but if you're comfortable with it, then you're going to be able to use it to get the right answer. So break it apart into the amount of holes that you can make. And you do use skip counting for this. Because now I'm thinking 8 plus 8 is 16. I can have another 8/8. I'm going to write the skip counting because I feel like this would be a good way for you to be able to break it up a little bit easier, to do your skip counting first. So 8, 16, and I'm probably going a little bit quicker than you would because, you know, I'm good with my facts, my 8's facts. Next would be 32. So when I'm skip counting, I'm looking to see when I get to 56 or how close I can get to 56. Next would be 40. Next would be 48. And then 56. So since I can get to 56, I know that I'm not going to have a mixed number here. I'm going to have a whole number. So I know I can have another 8/8 because 8 times 3 is 24. So all of these 3 8s add up to 24. I can have another 8/8, which would give me 32 eighths. Next comes 40, so I'm not at 56 yet. 48. And then 56. So 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, right? That's 7 times 8. So we're breaking it up into repeated addition, aren't we? So we're used to, you know, circling our holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So our whole number equals 7. where's my pen? So when we're calculating the amount of miles, in answering the question, she's riding her bike 7/8 of a mile for 8 days. So we want to know how many miles she's riding. So altogether, that's going to be 7 miles. For number 7, calculate the distance Tom rides his bike if he rides 5/6 mile each day for 5 days. So look for the fraction and how many times it's repeated. 5 times 5/6 equals 25/6. And now we're going to break that apart. Counting by 5s is a little bit easier than counting by 8s. So you could do your skip counting down here by 5s. Our fractions 25. Oh, I'm sorry, we're counting by 6s because our denominator is a 6. So ignore what I said about counting by 5s. We're counting by 6s. Look at your denominator because that's how you know you need to have a 6 up top, right? Because 6/6 is 1 whole. So how many 6/6 can we create? 6 plus 6 is 12, plus another 6/6 would be 18. We're not at 25 yet. Squeeze a plus sign in there. Another 6/6 would be 24. Plus what is left over to get to 25, that's 1. So 6/6 plus 6/6 would be 12/6. Plus another 6/6 would be 18/6. Plus another 6/6 would be 24/6. Plus our 1 that's left over gives us 25. So circle your holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1/6 is our answer. So what I'm assuming you guys at home, you probably were able to get independently the fraction answer. But for these two, maybe you needed a little help turning it into a whole number or a mixed number. And that's okay because that's the more difficult and challenging part. All right, for number 8 on the back, look for the fraction and what is repeated. The fraction here is 3/4, and how many times is it repeated? Well, she's filling the measuring cup 3 times. So look for the word times too. That's one of our Operation Clue words. So 3 times 3/4 equals 9/4. Turning that into a mixed number. And hopefully you have scrap paper at home because sometimes you need a little bit more workspace to do that. That's why I'm using my whiteboard. So we have 9/4. Look at your denominator. It's a 4. So 1 whole is going to be 4/4. Plus, can I have another 4/4? Well, 4 plus 4 is 8, so I can. And since 4 plus 4 is 8, what is going to be left over? 1, because 1 more gives you 9. So 2 wholes with 1/4 left over. So 2 1/4 cups, right? Write and solve an equation with a whole number and a fraction to show the total amount of juice. Okay, so the total amount of juice is 2 1/4. I'm just going to write equals 2 1/4 cups. For number 9, look for the fraction and how many times it's repeated. So each lap around a track is 3/10 kilometer. That is our fraction. How many times is it repeated? Elliot walked around the track 4 times. How far did he walk? So 4 times he walks that 3/10. And I like this number line because they even show you that 1 is right here. So we know that our answer is going to be greater than 1. 4 times 3 is 12 tenths. And our numerator is greater than our denominator. You can even see it on the number line here. I can use the number line to see that my answer is going to be 1 2/10, but I'm just going to show you how to break it up into the mixed number. So 12 tenths equals, we can have a 10 tenths, and 10 plus 2 is 12, so we're going to have 2 tenths left over. That's 1 whole with our 2 tenths next to it. Something important here as well is to think about how you're labeling your answer. He's doing laps in kilometers, so you could write out kilometers. I don't have a lot of space. The abbreviation for kilometers is km. That's our answer. I'm going to circle my answer up here for number 8. All right, we just have 2 more. So for number 14, you're selecting the expressions that represent the following story. Elaine jogged 4/5 mile each day for 7 days. Use drawings or number lines as needed. Look for each of these in 14 and 15, they're giving you some answers to try to confuse you. Just look for the multiplication equation and the repeated addition because you can represent it both ways. So look for the fraction and the amount of times that it's repeated. So our fraction is 4/5, and she's doing this jog for 7 days. So whole number times the fraction, that answer is right here. And then the repeated addition, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times that 4/5 is repeated. I mean, here they're just trying to confuse you by putting different fractions. Pay attention to the fraction that's in the story. So for number 15, the fraction is 1/2, and Freddie is skating that 1/2 mile for 6 days. So look for the answer down here that has the fraction and the amount of times it's repeated. So that would be 1/2 times 6, or 6 times 1/2. And here we see it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And there's only 2 answers for 14 and 15. All right, so hopefully you were able to understand this a little bit better today. Tomorrow, day 16, is also this multiplication of a whole number and a fraction using pictures and models. So I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Or actually, if you are participating in our Google Hangout today, then I'll actually get to see your face and you'll get to see mine. So I'll have another video for you guys tomorrow, and have a wonderful day.